started.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst decisions made by movie studios.
So why'd you do it?
I can't answer that.
For this list, we'll be looking at detrimental choices made by film studios that either ended up hurting themselves or their products. Which of these decisions stunned you the most? Is there an instance you wish we'd included? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Venom, Spider-Man 3.
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
Sony has made several missteps when it comes to handling the Spider-Man series and its characters. One of its biggest and earliest came when it forced director Sam Raimi to include Venom in Spider-Man 3. Raimi had originally wanted two main villains, Sandman and Harry Osborn.
Hey, Pete! Am I interrupting?
But producer Avi Arad thought previous entries only included villains that Raimi liked, not the ones fans most wanted to see. Given Venom's marketability, Arad pushed for the character's inclusion.
You're so right. I'm thinking humiliation.
As a result, Spider-Man 3 felt too overstuffed with baddies and ended Raimi's series on a sour note, with his Spider-Man 4 later cancelled. Just because a villain is cool doesn't mean you need them.
What are you doing? No!
Number 9. A rush job. Alien 3. The Alien series has some genuinely fantastic films, and then there's Alien 3.
I'm eternally grateful.
Keep your sarcasms to yourself. Now, is there anything I should know?
Plans for a third film were set in motion soon after Aliens premiered, but by the time the then newcomer David Fincher began filming, he was a replacement director of a project that had gone through multiple screenwriters.
He came in not having that preparation time, not having all the meetings, and not necessarily having a full script to work with because of the conceptual differences that the first director that they had employed had brought onto the production. He then wanted to put his ideas into Alien 3.
He was given little creative control, with the studio pressuring him to make the release date it had already teased. If the studio had been patient and trusted Fincher, who has long since disowned the project, Alien 3 could have been a classic that stood tall with its predecessors.
You bastard!
Number 8. The trilogy route. The Hobbit series. Most of the time, it's best for studios to back their creative talent, but sometimes that can be a poor decision.
That's none of your business. Wrong. It's the master's business, which makes it my business.
The Hobbit was originally supposed to consist of 2 films, which already would have been a stretch considering the source material. However, director Peter Jackson decided to expand to 3 so he could include material from the appendices of The Return of the King.
That orc scum is in there. I say we push on. No. That's what he wants. He wants to draw us in. This is a trap.
Studios supported the decision. Why wouldn't they want to make 3 movies worth of money instead of 2? While the trilogy did perform well financially, it felt dragged out and wasn't nearly as well received as The Lord of the Rings.
If we have read these signs, do you not think others will have read them too?
Number 7. Cutting for Time. Once Upon a Time in America. Sergio Leone was a legendary filmmaker, but his final movie was completely botched by studio interference.
What do you mean by that?
Once Upon a Time in America was the first movie Leone had made in over a decade, so perhaps the studios forgot just how talented he was. His original vision was 269 minutes long, though Leone was convinced to shorten it by 40 minutes.
That wasn't my choice.
Yes, it was. It still is.
That was the version shown in Europe. Unfortunately, the studio responsible for US distribution, Warner Bros.' The Lad Company, cut another 90 minutes and reorganized scenes into chronological order.
You'll carry that stink of the streets with you the rest of your life.
I like the stink of the streets. It makes me feel good. I like the smell of it. It opens up my lungs.
Apparently, early test audience reactions and its long length had made them nervous.
It's just the way I see things.
It was a far lesser film and wouldn't be properly restored until 2012. Number 6. Far from a classic, Blade Runner.
Wake up. Time to die.
These days, Blade Runner is considered one of the best sci-fi films ever made. On release, it was a far cry from that status. Due to negative test screening reactions, Warner Bros. Decided to meddle in the production. To offset the dark tone, the studio forced a happy ending into the theatrical release.
You trust me?
I trust you.
Also, thinking that parts of the story were confusing, it reinstated Deckard's narration from the script draft. Star Harrison Ford hated the narration, and it showed.
So I hooked in once more, thinking that if I couldn't take it, I'd split later.
Although Ridley Scott approved of the 1992 director's cut, which removed both of those infractions, he wouldn't gain full creative control until the 2007 final cut.
All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
We're extremely grateful both of these versions exist. Otherwise, Blade Runner may have been forgotten.
Too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?
Number 5. The re-release. Morbius. Like we said, Sony has made some bad decisions in regard to their Marvel films.
Make us understand.
I wish I knew. Okay. Great stuff.
Morbius had a lot stacked against it. Several delays from the COVID-19 pandemic, a star with questionable off-screen behavior, and a lesser-known main character. Not only that, the movie just wasn't good, with poor writing, bad effects, and some of the worst post-credit scenes of all time.
Intriguing.
Morbius was a joke before and after it released, becoming the internet's favorite meme for a short while. Somehow, Sony saw this and took it as a sign to re-release it on 1,000 theaters across the US.
We have to push the boundaries, take the risks. Without that, there is no science.
A gigantic failure to read the room, Morbius only made around $280,000 during its weekend re-release, bombing a second time.
Success, Martine. We did it.
It's holding together.
Number 4. Near bankruptcy. Cleopatra.
Sleep well tonight, Caesar. These next days may be difficult for you.
Studio interference is usually seen as a bad thing, though not every instance leads the studio to near bankruptcy. 20th Century Fox almost ceased to exist due to its mishandling of Cleopatra, which was the most expensive film ever produced on release. It hired Ruben Mamoulian as director, who left 16 weeks into production after he was blamed for going over budget.
There he goes, as he's done 100 times on land, straight for the center.
Fox only had 10 minutes of footage after $7 million, but starting production without a finished shooting script probably didn't help either. You'd think that would make the studio more frugal, but even after hiring Joseph L. Mankiewicz as director, it fired other personnel, changed filming locations to Rome, and ordered reshoots. The film was a success, but at a mighty cost.
When I am ready to die, I will die.
Number 3. Bye Bye Batgirl. Batgirl.
Batgirl? Batgirl? Batgirl!
Batgirl.
Warner Bros. And DC have made some questionable decisions, such as rushing the release of Justice League.
I agree.
However, it's the choice to scrap the nearly completed Batgirl in 2022 that really baffled fans. Production had wrapped earlier in the year on the $19 million project, with just editing left, but with the merger of Warner Media and Discovery Inc., came a change in management.
How rare is it for a major studio to scrap a movie?
Extraordinarily rare on this scale.
CEO David Zaslav axed the film to seemingly help the DC brand. Zaslav stated a desire to follow in Marvel's footsteps with a 10-year plan. Many fans and film journalists cried foul, especially since the crew found out the same way we did. The promising cast of Leslie Grace, Brendan Fraser, and Michael Keaton back as Batman just makes us sadder.
What was so bad about Batgirl? That's what everybody wants to know, that Hollywood couldn't do any of its magic to re-edit it, to use different CGI to make it work.
Number 2. The Dark Universe, The Mummy. As we've seen before, rushing the construction of a shared universe can only lead to misfortune.
Kidding me? Your fault, Nick. Your fault.
Universal learned this the hard way, announcing plans for The Dark Universe the same day its first installment debuted, 2017's The Mummy.
Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
The studio had plans for other revitalizations of its classic movie monsters with several big-name actors attached. But then The Mummy was panned and failed to meet box office expectations.
What the hell is that?
It featured way too many nods to the bigger universe and not nearly enough of a worthwhile plot. The Dark Universe died with The Mummy.
You saw that, right?
You were gonna leave me!
You saw it, right?
I can't unsee it!
But at least Universal seemingly learned its lesson, as shown by 2020's isolated The Invisible Man. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Not having a plan. Star Wars sequel trilogy. The Star Wars sequel trilogy got off to a solid start with J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens. But it became clear very quickly that Disney didn't have a plan for the story it wanted to tell. No matter how you feel about Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, it definitely undercut expectations set up by Episode 7.
It's just business. You're wrong. Maybe.
Not wanting to upset fans more, Disney brought Abrams back for The Rise of Skywalker, which then undercut elements set up in The Last Jedi. It was a messy climax full of inconsistencies. The final result is a trilogy that feels mismanaged and unbalanced due to a lack of anyone steering the ship.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
But hey, at least there's always the Mandalorian. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.